It's been 3 days now since I left Disneyland Paris, and I still can't understand. I'm constantly having nightmares. I keep thinking about those scary dolls, about that music that keeps coming back to my mind. But above all, I keep thinking about my friend. My friend has been depressed since a complex breakup. I wanted to play my role as a best friend and distract him. So, what's better than Disney Park? After all, it's a place that exudes joy, dreams, and makes us relive our entire childhood in a few hours. I imagined it was one way to make his depression disappear, not a way to make him disappear altogether. I never would have thought that this place could be so strange and unhealthy. Worse still, that a simple little rule could get the better of her. We arrived very early in the morning, around 9 o'clock, and we immediately went around the attractions, after doing the one that required the most time in the queue, namely Crush, which was the attraction from the Nemo cartoon, or the rock and roll roller coaster, with Aerosmith from the studio park. I saw the sadness on her face slowly disappear. She began smiling, laughing, and talking to me about anything and everything. It had been a while since I'd seen her smile so much, but more importantly, she hadn't mentioned her ex all morning.
Thanks, Kyle. It's been a while since I laughed this hard.
When she told me that, I was on top of the world. I was thinking about the fact that we had only been here for 3 hours, and there were still several hours ahead of us. Hours of laughter and positive thoughts. Afterwards, we decided to go see the cartoon on the big screen where Donald steals Mickey's hat. In a kind of 4D cinema, where you could feel the room shaking, the wind blowing as if we were there. It was a grand spectacle, both visually and musically, as we were treated to all the iconic song scenes from several Disney movies, like The Lion King, The Little Mermaid, and many others. When the music from Aladdin, A Whole New World, started playing, I saw her eyes start to sparkle. I knew from the first notes of the music that it would remind him of memories of his ex-girlfriend.
It was his favorite Disney movie?
That's when I decided to leave the room with him. I didn't want to see him cry. So, since I knew the park well, I thought about the attraction that buzzes. So we did the teacups, then a ride on Space Mountain, and finally the mine train. But my efforts were leading to nothing. I saw her drift back into her thoughts, her eyes staring into the void. Even if she said nothing, her eyes spoke for her. They filled with tears quickly, between 2 attractions. Hey, tell me, Lena, do you know the It's a Small World ride?
Sorry.
It's a world filled with dolls for little ones in French. I hope you're not scared of them. You're on a world tour by boat, watching countries pass by, each represented by dolls depicting their unique characters. The music is quite catchy too. It's going to change your mind. What do you say? I was reassured to see a slight smile on her face when she answered me.
Well, yes, I love dolls.
Well, let's go. It's not very far. Follow me. We walked a few minutes to reach the attraction. Then, not far from us, we ended up seeing the queue. The estimated wait time was around 30 minutes. Here we are. It's really fun to do. It's not a thrill ride, it's mainly visual and auditory. It will change your mind. If you know It's a Small World, then you know that the building is quite unique. There is a huge clock at the top of it, with a loud ticking that resonates to our ears. Lena appeared fascinated by the clock and its sound, and remarked on it to me.
The employees who work on this attraction must go crazy over time.
Like Captain Hook, when he hears the ticking of the crocodile that ate his hand, right? And you haven't seen anything yet? I looked at my watch for a few seconds, watched the clock. In about 20 seconds, something is going to happen. She was looking at the clock with interest, and, like every quarter of an hour, the clock door opened, and the little parade began. Little characters started to come out of the dial, all dressed in different ways. Each of them represented a country by the way they were dressed. One wearing traditional Chinese clothing, another from Russia.
Oh, that's too cute.
This time, she was really thinking about something else.
But how often does this thing ring?
That's why I'm telling you. You haven't seen anything yet. Not only are there these tic-tacs, but they also have to endure this show, every 15 minutes. I realized how hard it must be for an employee to endure. The woman, in a security uniform, stared at the clock with a hint of disgust, her gaze frozen, as if seeing something I couldn't. She didn't move an inch. It looked like she was almost scared of what she was seeing. Look, you see, I think she must have been working here for a while now. Right after I spoke, the girl turned her head to look at us. We immediately looked away, but out of the corner of my eye, I could see that she kept her gaze on us. I took a quick glance at her, and could see that she was staring at us with a certain sadness in her eyes. But what's her problem?
I can't bear to look at her anymore. She frightens me.
She eventually stopped looking at us, and quickly, we arrived at the attraction. The decorations were particularly colorful and very childish. Lena impatiently tugged my arm, leading me to a boat.
Can we go all the way to the front, please?
She asked the employee. The latter began calculating by counting the people behind us. Then he finally agreed. So we were both sitting at the front of the boat, with no one beside us. The rest of the people were at the back. Meanwhile, the speaker was tirelessly repeating the safety rules. It's just the two of us at the front. It's going to be nice to enjoy the show without being disturbed. And I say with a smile. She was also smiling, and I was happy to see her like that. I was certain she wasn't thinking about him at all now. The boat moved faster, and we quickly found ourselves inside the ride's tunnel. The outside was already quite colorful, but the inside was even more so. There were dolls absolutely everywhere. The alluring music of the attraction resonated in our ears, immersing us in a dreamy atmosphere. Lena was overjoyed, and seemed fascinated by all the dolls around her.
It's so beautiful, Kyle. It was really worth the wait.
I sighed with relief. Seeing her so happy also filled me with joy. My heart relaxed a little more as we delved deeper into the tunnels.
Hey, I feel like touching one.
What? Sorry.
I want to touch a doll, come on.
The rules were strict, and one of them was not to stand up on the boat under any circumstances. I don't think that's a good idea. Lena, did you hear? Standing up is dangerous, apparently.
Oh, come on. It's fine. Those rules are just there to cover themselves in case someone falls off the boat, but it's not dangerous at all. The tunnel is way too high.
Yeah, but follow the rules. Stay seated. It's the least you can do. Otherwise, we're going to get kicked out of the park. Lena. There's a side of Lena that I don't particularly like, but it's an integral part of her personality. She dislikes following certain instructions and orders. And where I made a mistake is that I challenged her by telling her to stay seated. If I had ignored everything she told me, I'm almost certain she would never have stood up. She had a smirk and was giving me a challenging look.
Oh yeah, you want me to stay seated?
Yes, please. She then leaned closer to my ear.
I told you I don't like orders, Kyle.
She stood up. There was a strange noise and all the lights went out at once. At first, I thought it was a power issue, but I quickly realized that wasn't it. Everything was silent. There was no sound of water, and it was as if there was no one behind me. As if I had boarded this boat alone. The only thing you could hear was the music. It had started up again, but it wasn't normal anymore. It was playing backwards. A light came on. The bulb seemed red and was illuminating something further down the tunnel. ENA was no longer next to me. I then took a look back and could see that people were still present in the boat. My heart tightened in my chest when I realized they were all there. As if frozen in time, they were looking straight ahead, their eyes wide open, a broad smile drawn on their faces. They didn't move an inch. I didn't understand what was happening. The dwarves were not among them. I didn't even manage to scream. I opened my mouth, and the only thing that came out was a weak noise. The dwarves, they all raised their right arms at the same time, perfectly synchronized. He was pointing to the end of the tunnel. I then slowly turned my head, and I saw Lena standing under the red spotlight. The speakers crackled, and I heard it.
They are peeling off my skin.
My body started to shake uncontrollably.
Lena.
Everything went back to normal. The lights came back on, the music was playing normally, and the dolls were dancing again to the rhythm of it. The people behind me were laughing, chatting, and watching the show with interest, as if nothing had happened. I searched the entire attraction for the dwarfs, but they were gone. It was the end of the ride. I quickly got out of the boat completely panicked. I didn't try to understand anything. I directly ran towards the queue and past everyone to talk to the employee. The latter seemed to be getting scolded by one of his superiors. And when I called out to him, both turned around and smiled at me. The employee kindly explained that he had made a mistake by letting me go to the front of the boat alone, and that I should have been accompanied for safety reasons. And then everything happened very quickly. I started yelling instead of talking, telling him that I wasn't alone, that my friend was with me. The smiling employee seemed surprised to inform me that this was not the case. I was speaking fast, much too fast. I kept repeating Lena's name over and over. While looking around me, I kept hoping that she would reappear behind me, saying surprise. But that was never the case. I couldn't keep my calm anymore and kept telling the employee over and over that my friend Lena was with me. At the front of the boat, the people behind me seemed to be worried, and some even left the queue. The employee remained calm, but alerted security. Someone grabbed me by the arm and pulled me firmly. Outside of the attraction, it was the girl who was wearing the security outfit. She told me to stay calm. Gradually, I found myself in front of the large building with the clock. I tried to catch my breath. When I told her what had happened, she looked compassionate. The only thing she said was that I had to stay calm. That if my friend had really disappeared from this park, she would inevitably end up reappearing, and that was the case. The ticking echoed above me, louder than ever. And then the quarter hour struck, the music sounded, the parade began. I hadn't paid attention until the employee looked up. She gazed at the clock, her expression mirroring our first encounter. She continued to hold my arm, but didn't seem to move an inch, watching the parade of dolls coming out of the clock face, with a lot of interest. I then did the same thing as her. I need to clarify a few details before concluding and telling you exactly what I saw. Since then, it's as if the dwarves vanished. I never found her again. My parents didn't even know who I was talking about. When I mentioned her name, I couldn't find any pictures of her. And even worse, Lena's mom, who was a great friend of my mother's, told me several times that she never had a daughter. As I told you, it's as if she never existed. What I saw coming out of the dial were the dolls that I had seen a few minutes earlier with Lena. Only, the last one was different from the others. Her face was like scared, and she was wearing a traditional Japanese outfit. But it wasn't the face of a doll, no, it was Lena's face. Her skin was roughly pulled back and nailed, with large spikes on the sides of the doll. Her hands were human, far too large for a doll. They were like sewn and hung, swaying in a gloomy way to the rhythm of the music. Blood flowed from under her skin and hands. I understood three things at that moment. I realized others couldn't see what I saw, as people seemed ecstatic about this macabre spectacle. I also grasped what intrigued the security girl before, as she appeared to be the sole witness to this terror. But above all, I also understood the message that Lena had tried to pass on to me through the speakers.
They are peeling off my skin.